Wisconsin Eye's 2014 election coverage is brought to you by the Wisconsin Hospital Association. For over 90 years, a valued voice for Wisconsin hospitals, supporting high-quality, high-value care in communities like yours.
Wisconsin Eye coverage of the 2014 elections continues. We're interviewing Mr. Brian Fitzgerald of Janesville. He's a Republican running in this 15th Senate District. Brian, welcome to Wisconsin Eye.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. Programming note, Wisconsin Eye appreciates the support of the Wisconsin Hospital Association, which represents more than 139 hospitals and health systems, for making these candidate interviews possible. First-time candidate for Capitol office, partisan office?
Yes.
Dan, give us a short version of your background, please.
My background's primarily in private business. I spent most of my career in cable TV. I've also been in the computer business, the software business, the internet business, a wide variety of different things. And I think my background allows me to understand what business is looking for and what job creators are looking for.
Are you currently on the Janesville Council?
On the Janesville City Council,
City
yes.
Council. Okay. How long have you been on that council?
A year and a half.
Okay. Is there any one issue that caused you to say, this is my reason for running?
Yes, I'm not happy with the state of the state or happy with politics on the national level. This isn't the America I grew up in, and I have no desire to go to Washington, but I know I can make a difference here in Wisconsin, and I want to make that difference. I want to create the kind of opportunities and that I had growing up for my children and my grandchildren.
Well, I'm just curious, what are some of the changes that you've seen that you're most concerned about, that are reasons why you are running for the Senate?
Well, I'm not happy, for example, many of the things going on in Washington. The gridlock has caused all kinds of problems, and they just seem to multiply. It seems to have a cascading waterfall type effect. But I know that that's not a place for me. Paul Ryan and others are there, and that's their job, and I'll allow them to do it. But I can make a difference in Wisconsin and here in my district. I was born and raised in Janesville, and I've lived there almost all my life. My children are there, my grandchildren are there. I've got a lot of family and aunts, uncles, cousins there. I know that area very, very well.
Okay. When I am interviewing local officials seeking to run for the legislature, I like to ask this question. Impact of Act 10, has it hurt local services, sir, as a member of the council?
We're struggling in Janesville for so many reasons. The first was the economic downturn in 2008, and early in 2009 we lost General Motors with about 5,000 jobs. So to be quite blunt, it's kind of hard to sort out the impact of Act 10 compared to all the other problems we're having to deal with.
I understand. A big focus in the next state budget is going to be aid to schools. Do you have any specific programs that you would try to make a priority in the Senate in terms of funding public schools in the next budget cycle, sir?
Not specifically, but I do believe that the formula can be tweaked. The school aid formula is very complex, and there are so many things in it that can't be controlled, property values, for example. And so I think that needs to be fine-tuned on a regular basis.
A big part of the dialogue will occur over whether to keep expanding school choice and vouchers. Do you have a position on those programs?
I believe in school choice. I think a parent should be able to send their children wherever they want to. And regardless of where the child goes to school, they'll need a teacher. So I don't see a problem with school vouchers.
There's now a limit of 1,000. There's a cap on voucher slots of 1,000 statewide outside Milwaukee and Racine.
Right.
Do you think that limit that 1,000 enrollment cap should come off in the next budget, sir?
I think we should continue to experiment and carefully monitor that situation.
I think it was about 5 or 6 weeks ago, Governor Walker called for the legislature to withdraw from the Common Core standards.
Yes.
Your reaction to the governor's?
I agree with the governor on that one. I don't think Common Core is good. I believe in local choices. For example, Madison, Janesville, Beloit, they're all very different in many ways, not just the demographics. And I believe the people in Beloit, the people in Janesville know what's best for their children and their school system.
As a native of Janesville, you're well aware of the importance of the interstate to
Yes.
that corridor linking Illinois to Madison. I assume you support the widening of the interstate?
Yes.
What would that mean to your community in Janesville? What would it open it up?
Initially, it would hurt because there's with all the construction, they'll be closing exits. It'll be pretty chaotic for a while. But they've I forget how many years ago it was they diverted 39 into I-90 from Illinois. And since that time, there's just so much traffic, and that corridor, that north-south corridor on I-90, is vital to Janesville and Beloit, in that we need to be able to move goods in and out of that area quickly and efficiently. We have many. There was a tax incentive program also years ago that allowed people to build warehouses, and Beloit's full of them. And there's a lot of goods moving in and out. I know Staples is one of the warehouses. I don't know how big that is. It's enormous. But that's a vital link for all of us. And right now it's very congested.
But there is a funding deficit projected. The Wisconsin Taxpayer Alliance said if we keep funding statewide transportation programs at the 2013 level for 10 years, we're going to have a deficit of $2 billion.
Right.
How should that deficit be made up as somebody who'd like to see I-90 widened in your Senate district?
Well, it's spend less money would be one way.
Is that possible?
I'm not sure.
And the reason I ask is the Zoo Freeway in Milwaukee costs $1.7 billion, so these are very costly programs.
Yes, they are.
So is it possible to spend less, or do we have to look for revenue increases?
We have to look at both. There's just so many things. They've made a 10-year projection there, but 10-year projections are usually wildly inaccurate. I think we need a shorter-term solution to that, a 3 to 5 year solution to that. I remember reading years ago, this was a transportation-related problem. At the turn of the century in 1900, they took some of the big thinkers and they tried to get them to project and to look into the future and see what kind of problems that there might be. And one of the projections was that by 1950, New York City would be under 50 feet of horse manure.
Well, I don't think so.
Well, along came cars, and
Yes.
that never happened. But there is a danger in trying to project too far out. There's so many of these factors that you can't control. The biggest being the federal government. They always participate in these projects. And you need to know what their level of participation is. And year to year, it's not always the same.
Would you consider raising our gas tax, or the $75 a year that you and I pay to register our vehicle?
I think we just have to look at everything. We have to consider everything. In Janesville, we just looked at the wheel tax again. Unfortunately, in Janesville, we had to cut back on years ago on repairing the roads, and so now we're trying to play catch up, and we're trying to find the revenue to do that. And we do have a wheel tax in Janesville, but at this point, we decided to leave it the way it was.
Okay, so you looked at raising it, because Janesville is one of 4 communities with a wheel tax, and 4 others have tried it and discarded it. And
Well,
Appleton's looking at it, and Chippewa County's looking at it.
Right. We actually talked about eliminating it. Because it's only $10 per car, but some people don't want to pay it, obviously. Who does?
It's not popular.
Right, but there are other people that maybe they use city services, or they don't have a car and don't use the road, so they don't feel they should pay anything. But that's kind of not how the system works. In many cases, like roads, it's for the greater benefit of all.
Let me ask you a healthcare question. 1 in 5 Wisconsin residents gets their health care through the Medicaid program.
Right.
The American Hospital Association says Wisconsin's reimbursement rates under Medicaid are the second lowest in the nation. Have you studied that issue? Do you think it's time to raise those reimbursement rates?
I've looked at it, and it's something we need to carefully consider if we can afford it at this time. It's healthcare is just in such a state of flux right now. Obamacare has started for individuals, but not for business, and so that will kick in, I believe, later this year, and we'll start to see more changes. But I really think it's going to take a year or two before all of this sorts itself out.
Well, we're talking about health care. Do you think it was wise of Governor Walker and the leaders of the Senate and the Assembly to tell the federal government, we don't want your money to pay to expand our Medicaid program?
I think they probably wanted the money. I just don't think they wanted to be told what to do. That program, from what I've seen, eventually a lot of that would be shifted to the taxpayers of Wisconsin.
Okay.
And so, and once again, until a lot of this sorts itself out, Obamacare, we were all told, was going to be health care for everyone. And in the next year and a half, we'll see how some of that shakes out.
There's going to be a bill introduced in the next session for the legalization of medical marijuana. Traveling with that is proposals, as we've seen in Colorado and Washington, legalize the recreational use of marijuana. Your position on those proposals?
Well, if we're going to have medical marijuana, then we need to treat it as a medicine. The way it's done in Colorado, I think, is almost laughable. You just go to the nearest corner and they've got a pharmacy and you buy what you want. But if it's truly a medicine, we need to test it, we need to have dosages, we need to control it like any other medicine. I mean, I can't go to the pharmacy and just say, I'll have a few of those. So if it is a medicine, then let's treat it as such.
Recreational use?
I don't support that, but I don't think I can stop it either. So.
Okay. The first bill, one of the first bills passed by the last session, changed state laws so Gogebic Taconite could apply for that permit for that open pit iron ore mine in Ashland and Iron counties. Do you think that law needs to be revisited, changed, amended in any way?
I think they need those jobs up there. They have very little industry up there, and those would be good paying jobs that would pay a lot of taxes and help a lot of families. I don't know if that needs to be fine-tuned. The DNR is obviously heavily involved in that, and there are so many environmental concerns about it. So I think that's going to be a delicate balancing act. I'd like as much input as possible from the people in those counties that it affects directly, because they may decide that we need it that bad or it's not worth the price. But I certainly don't think all the best decisions are made statewide for in Madison.
It was an issue in the Attorney General's race in the primary. Your position on whether drunken driving first offense should be a crime, Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes, it should.
Why do you believe that?
Well, I think it should be a crime. I'm not sure we're handling it well. In many cases, it's so expensive for someone it can actually bankrupt them. I guess the part I don't understand is someone with a second, third, fourth DUI, why does he have a car? If he has a job, maybe he should be taking the bus or get a bicycle or something. But why does that person have a car? You've made some really bad decisions, and you need to pay a price for that. And I don't see riding the bus as a great penalty, but I don't think they should have a car.
Janesville's, as you said, economic heart was broken when the GM plant closed. 6 years later, how's the city doing, sir?
We're still struggling. we're trying to fund the streets right now. In order to just maintain the streets in Janesville, we need to repair between 12 and 15 miles a year. And that was cut back to as little as 6 miles. And that's gone on for 5-6 years. And so now we're 30 miles behind.
And they just get more behind.
And it keeps getting worse. So we're just trying to catch up and maintain and move forward. We've been able to, jobs are not just about bringing in new jobs. You have to maintain the ones you already have and make sure no one else moves away. And recently in Janesville, we've helped with our TIF districts, help 2 local businesses expand and stay in Janesville.
Okay. I've asked you about a bunch of issues. Is there any issue that you consider key to your campaign I haven't asked you about? Anything else you want to mention, sir?
You've hit the highlights.
Okay. Then let me ask you this. Do you want to highlight any differences with you and your opponent on November 4th, State Representative Janice Ringham?
Yes. I think there's a great difference here. I'm a businessman. I come from that perspective, and I did it for a long, long time. I have a broad and wide-ranging experience doing a lot of different things. My opponent is a professional politician. She's just taking the next step up the ladder, and which is going from Assembly to Senate. And I'm not a politician. I really don't want to be a politician, but this is the way you get things done, and this is the system we have. So for now, I'm trying to be a politician. I'm trying to be a non-politician, but in any case, I think it's a very pointed and distinct difference between she and I and our backgrounds and our approach to this. I understand what business wants, what they're looking for, and I think I can help bring jobs and careers to the 15th District.
Okay, thank you very much. Brian Fitzgerald of Janesville is a Republican candidate in Senate District 15. The election is November 4. Mr. Fitzgerald, thanks for talking to Wisconsin Eye.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.